All right, my brothers, good evening. It is time for episode, I don't know, I think we're at episode 5 of our monthly Patreon exclusive content. Again, this is long form stuff. Hoping to get this done in less than 45 minutes to an hour. Gonna aim for 45. Got a bunch of notes here, so let's just hop right into it. A lot of you guys have asked me to do a video on plate spinning and how to spin plates better. If you're new as a Patreon and you're not familiar with the concept of plate spinning, I'll link in the description some blog posts or essays from Rollo Tomasi. If you haven't read The Rational Male, you should check it out, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about here has come out of those, I guess, essays and book itself. But more so than not, Rollo's married, so he doesn't spin plates. This is more field-tested stuff that I've done now. So you're going to see a good chunk of this that wasn't in that book, and some stuff that'll hopefully be very new to you and answer a lot of questions you guys have asked, because I've had people that have messaged me and asked me to help them solve something that they've been stuck on with multiple plates. Anyway, let's hop into it. So why do you want to spin plates? Well, let's go down this list here. Anxiety in women is good for men because they're always on their best behavior. So competition anxiety happens when women recognize that you've got more going on than just them. And when they want to see you on a Thursday night and you're busy, they start to wonder in their mind what's going on, which keeps them on their toes, keeps them on their best behavior. You're always going to get the best sex when there's competition anxiety involved. It's why married guys don't report to their friends they've had the best sex of their life with their wife. In fact, many of them are not even getting any action whatsoever. It's guys that are spinning plates that are always doing the best. I should mention, by the way, guys, if you are going to spin plates, don't put yourself at any kind of risk when it comes to STDs or unplanned pregnancy. It's called birth control for a reason. You need to be in control of the birth. So do never rely on a woman that says, oh, just come inside me because I'm on an IUD or the pill or anything like that. Unless you know a woman and you're in a long-term relationship and there's effective birth control in place that you're aware of, you cover your ass. Okay, so let me just carry on. I mean, that should be obvious to you guys by now, but let me just carry on anyway. I figured it would make sense to make that disclosure. It's much easier not to give a shit if you truly don't give a shit because you've got plates to spin. So if you've got options, your automatic demeanor, your behavior around your woman or women, and you're going to have primaries and secondaries and tertiaries, sort of thing. I know guys that spin 5 or 6 plates at a time. I know some guys that only do 1 or 2. I'll get into the moral stuff and the cardinal rules and so on and so forth in a little bit, and moving on to an LTR and monogamy. So just bear with me straight through to the end. Also bear with me because I got a bit of a cold too. The reason why another reason why it's a good thing is it's healthy because you set the frame of the relationship. You're not a player because you never imply exclusivity to a plate. And I'm going to get into more on that in just a little bit. A lot of people have something that holds them back when it comes to seeing more than one woman at a time. They don't want to be labeled as a player. That's just the feminine imperative. It's just basically it's programming that's simply not true, that men have been led to believe to be true when it's really not. So just understand that because you're never implying exclusivity to a plate, you're not a player. What you're doing is completely natural. In fact, women do it naturally anyway. I'll talk about that in a moment. Another reason why you want to spin plates is a woman must know that she isn't her only source of intimacy. And it's not that you overtly declare, look, lady, I'm not just seeing you, I got other plates I'm spinning, sort of thing. It will be declared by way of your actions. Trust me on this. You don't need to say anything. It's just the way that you're going to behave. The natural demeanor that you're going to have when you're seeing more than one woman at a time, your behavior will change. You're going to have more confidence. You're going to be stronger. Your shoulders will be back. You will be more desirable to women in general, including one that you might be vetting for a long-term relationship or perhaps even marriage. It's a very, very useful tool that a lot of guys pass on simply because of social programming and the feminine imperative telling them that it's not a good idea to see more than one woman at a time. It's not right or whatever. We'll get into a little bit more soon though. I'm going to say this. Women would rather be with a high-value alpha than be straddled with a faithful loser. And I experienced this firsthand about a month ago, okay? I was spinning plates for about a year up until I read the Rational Male, and then another year after the Rational Male. So I guess effectively I've since my last long-term relationship where I declared exclusivity to a single mom with 2 kids. And if you haven't seen my video on that, you should check it out. I can't remember the title of the video. I'll try to remember to put the card up, but it's on the channel. It's like in the top 5 most popular videos, so you can check that out. But after that relationship, I just knew, look, throwing myself 100% at one person does not make any sense from any perspective whatsoever. It's a recipe for failure. You never act strong and alpha in an environment like that because you've only got one source of intimacy, and you end up turning more, over time you will turn into more of a beta. So just understand that women inherently understand that they would rather be with a high-value alpha than be straddled, share a high-value alpha than be straddled with a faithful loser. Throughout history, we know that less than 20% of men's DNA has passed on throughout history. So 80% of women are banging 20% of the men. It's natural for them, and they understand that men will slip up. They understand that men need to have options. I think they understand inherently, even though they don't want to admit it, even though they won't, overtly declare it to the world. Again, guys, this is a Patreon video. It is private for tier 3 men that are wanting to access this behind the scenes material. So it's why I put this content out there for you, because I can't talk like this on the YouTube channel publicly. This is something that only men would get, that have been where I'm talking about and are wanting to go where I want to take you and want you to get on your own as well. So just understand that very important concept. Women would rather be with a high value alpha, meaning they would rather share a high value alpha than be straddled with a faithful loser. Trust me on this. This is the insurance policy. The higher value that you are on the sexual marketplace, even if she catches you, it probably won't even matter. It just doesn't, So you want to be the strongest, most virtuous, highest value alpha you can be in the sexual marketplace, because if there's ever any problems, you'll be fine down the road. And if you're not, it doesn't matter. The other place will be fine with it. So last point in the why section I have here is, do this if you don't want kids, or if you want to sort through women faster to vet for a wife. It has a number of applications. If you don't ever want to have kids, you should be spinning plates, okay? If you want to vet a woman for a long-term relationship / marriage to have kids, you should be spinning plates. It helps you kind of move through the noise and the mess a lot quicker. And one of the things that ends up happening also when you spin plates is the cream will naturally rise to the top. When you've had good experiences and bad experiences with these women as you spin the plates, some will drop off, some will naturally spin themselves, some just won't go anywhere. But the cream will always rise to the top when you're behaving in this fashion. So that's kind of a bit of an intro, a little snapshot into the why. I want to repeat the cardinal rule of all relationships, which Rollo mentioned in the Rational Male. In any relation, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other least. I think that came out of 48 Laws of Power, actually, by Robert Greene. So it's pretty consistent. It doesn't just apply to intersexual dynamics between men and women. It applies in workplaces, work dynamics, business negotiations, entrepreneurship, everything. If you're not that concerned with the outcome, you've got the most power. Okay, because you've got options, and the more options you have, the more flexibility that you're going to have, the more ability you'll have to maneuver, and so on and so forth. Dealing with the problems of exclusivity. I got a couple points here. So, what do you do to establish your plates and be truly, well, let's put it this way. So what do you do to establish with your plates and to be successfully non-exclusive with women? And I'd suggest doing exactly what women have perfected for the better part of their lifetimes throughout history, throughout time, is to stay intentionally ambiguous. You don't covertly state anything. It's basically implied through your actions. Women will always spin plates. We know that it's in their true nature because of hypergamy. They're always looking to get the best. The highest value man that they can lock down is what they're looking for. So the whole time that they're seeking the highest value man, they're spinning plates. They're not telling you it. They don't want to be known as a plate spinner because of things like slut shaming. because people tend to publicly shame women for slutty ass behavior. So they tend to do it in a very covert fashion, and they do it a lot more than what men think. It's, you know, since taking the red pill, it's become a lot more obvious to me, especially when I'm either dating somebody spinning that plate. I might have a primary, I might have, you know, several going at the same time. But it will become obvious to you when you open your eyes to the landscape and you start watching. And a lot of it becomes obvious on places like social media, because women like to spend so much time on social media. So when you start looking at the cues, who's liking, who's commenting, how the interaction goes back and forth on social media, especially places like Facebook and Instagram, it'll become a lot more obvious to you what plates that they're spinning in their life. So you see, women are the gatekeepers to sex. And I think I've mentioned this before publicly on the channel, but men are the gatekeepers to relationships. So you've got to exercise that right and spin plates so that you can be the selector for a long-term relationship if you so choose to be exclusive or get into a monogamous type of environment. I'll talk more about monogamy towards the end. All right, so here are the top tips now that we've done the introduction part. Only spin plates with women that have very high interest levels. I tell my sales guys in the office when I'm coaching them on their calls, you should only move towards sending a contract out to somebody if they've indicated interest at least, I'm going to say 7 to 8 out of 10. So if on a scale of 1 to 10, meaning 1 is very low interest and 10 is very high, I tell my guys only to send out contracts to people that indicate interest at a very high level, 7 or higher. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And I think the same thing holds true for women when you're spinning plates. That's been my experience personally, is only exert the effort if they have high interest. You'll know. You'll know if they have high interest. They'll express intent, they'll express desire, they'll express attraction, they'll ask when they can see you again, they'll text you randomly out of the blue for no reason. One of the things that I like to do, this is another tip, is keep a journal. I use Evernote on my phone. It's a free app. It's the green one, you can't miss it. It's got, I think, the elephant with the green background around it. And what I would do is after a date, I would go to my note, go to my Evernote, whatever the number is, you keep track of them to see how many of them that you've had, like over the period of time. Number Kelly, her age, what she does for a living, and what I experienced during that time with her. If you're intent on anything deeper, like vetting women for marriage, a longer term relationship, you don't want to spin plates forever sort of thing, it'll help you filter through the riffraff and look for patterns in your dating behavior, the types of women that you're seeing. So I'd encourage you guys to keep a somewhat of a journal or a logbook, whether you do it in handwriting or on an app on your phone. It will make things obvious to you after a while. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to do some fucking Dear Diary thing that women will do for pages on end. Keep it brief to the point and just kind of like download what you felt after that experience with her, move on, and then just leave it there. And once you start reading through it at a later date, you'll see patterns in it. Plate spinning should not be hard work. One thing that I learned from Alan Roger Curry is no free attention. He talked about it in his Mode 1 book. We talked about it on the Skype sessions that we've done. You've probably seen some of them out by now. More will come out in the future, and you might hear that conversation there. But no free attention means basically don't pander over women. Hey, how you doing? How was your day? I like that picture you posted today on Facebook. You look really pretty, and all that sort of shit. Attention is a currency to women, like sex is the currency to men. Women use sex to get love. Men use love to get sex. Okay, so we kind of put it in that perspective, in that frame. If you're not engaged sexually with your plate, there should be no free attention. There shouldn't be idle chit chat. There shouldn't be filler time. You need to be how can I put this? You need to be scarce. Scarcity creates desire, especially in women. So you don't want to jump when they say jump. If you get a text message and they ask you a question, you don't want to respond immediately. You want to let a little bit of time pass in between there. So, and again, I mean, if you've got plates spinning, if you're dating more than one woman simultaneously in a non-monogamous fashion, you're not going to have free attention to give anyway, because you're only going to be giving attention to the one that are the priorities. The cream that starts rising to the top. Give a little bit of attention to some of the ones that you might be spinning, but it'll start to become obvious after a while. So your scarcity will create value and mystique. If a plate drops, so what? It wasn't a plate worth spinning, okay? Don't worry about it too much. However, in practice, non-exclusivity has to be covert. It needs to be implied, not declared. I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I'm mentioning it again in this section in the tips area. It needs to be implied, not declared. You're not telling her you're seeing other people. I'll get in a couple of the jokes that you might be able to pull, but that'll come in a short second. Don't treat her like a girlfriend. Keep your times together limited and avoid spending the night together unless you really dig her vibe. You want to send her home. Whether you're hanging out and being sexual or not, for the most part, you want to send her home. It's going to create desire. It's going to create intensity. It's going to make the sex better if and when you do have it. You don't want her spending the night. Not early on anyway. I'd say for at least the first 3 to 6 months of you guys spending time, I'd say minimum 3. I wouldn't go more than 6 months. She'd be a little bit weird if she kept spinning as a plate during that time. You're probably gonna have to spend a little more time with her and give her kind of like a girlfriend experience sort of thing. But you definitely want to keep your times together limited. Avoid spending the night together unless you really dig her vibe. Another thing, social media is a big problem for guys in this area. I've experienced it myself. I've coached guys that have gone through this as well. I've had clarity calls booked from guys that needed to kind of deal with this sort of thing. So it's worth me emphasizing this and spending quite a bit of time on it. On Facebook, people have the option to take a picture. So let's say you're with your plate and she takes a picture of you. It's usually women that do this. By the way, on Facebook, guys, never post a picture of you and a woman together. It sends the wrong message. On Facebook, you should have a really good profile picture, DSLR quality, so very high production value. If you look at my Facebook, all of you guys are all Patreons now, so you see my comments on the private Facebook page. That's a good example, the one that I use, of the type of social media profile picture that you want to use. So yeah, to give you an idea. So as far as prepping, when women take pictures, so back to the point, when women take pictures together of you, if you're out together, she probably will at some point take a picture and then post it on social media and then tag you, which the intent is for it to show up on your timeline. So there's a declaration, okay, you can say overtly to the world that she was with you at that time and event. I think women tend to do this naturally, especially if they're suspect or if they're suspecting you of seeing other women, because what it does is it basically gives them an opportunity to, mark their territory, like a dog pisses on a tree to mark its territory. It's a very similar type of behavior where, the social media tag on Facebook or on Instagram, I think you can tag, I'm not sure if it shows up publicly or not, but you can set it on both levels where anytime somebody tags you, you need to approve it. So the first thing you need to do if you're going to go out spinning plates is make sure that if anybody tags you in a social post, you need to approve it first before it goes in your timeline. And my rule for this is you do not approve anything. Unless you want to be in a monogamous relationship and you're exclusive and you're letting your other plates drop, that's the only time that you allow tags to show. But she's going to ask you, well, why didn't they show up in the timeline, or how come that wasn't there, Rich? You see the picture, it's like, yeah, oh no, I missed it, sort of thing. I don't really use. And one of the things you can do is, like, social media is really a waste of time for guys. I'll be honest with you. I like being in the private Patreon community. I like using it for publishing content for my audience, sort of thing, and engaging with you guys and working on my own shit, and as a byproduct, helping you guys work on your own shit as well. So I don't spend a lot of time. If you look at my Facebook, I don't spend very much time whatsoever there. Most of it's done on my Instagram, and even when I'm using my Instagram, I have it set to a business page. So when women ask me about Instagram, I say, yeah, I use it for a project that I'm working on, and that's it. And some of them will follow me, and some of them will make comments. Oh, you said this thing about feminism. It's like, look, I don't fucking care. That's my project. It is what it is. If you don't like it, then don't fucking follow it, right? So when it comes to your social footprint or your blueprint, so to speak, make sure that you control that. It's like the whole birth control thing. It's called birth control because you need to be in control of it. Same thing with social media. You need to be in control of the social media posts. You have the security options to approve or disapprove. Just blanketly tell her you're not that active on social media. And if she asks you why, say, people tag me all the time. I'm sure it's there somewhere. I just don't get to it, but great picture. And you kind of move on, sort of thing. That's the way that you want to handle the social media prep. To some women, it's a bigger deal. You need to make it clear to women that you're not a social media whore, that you're not a female. You're not there to use it for attention-seeking behavior, right? So guys are pretty good with that. So just remain, stoic in that area. If you follow that tip, you won't have any problems. Trust me on that. That's basically what I use myself. Do not allow her access to your electronic world. This is where I got screwed, okay? If you have access on phones, computers, laptops, desktop, iPads, anything where you've been logged in to any platform where you've exchanged contact, exchange with other women, that's there forever. And if they get into it, they'll spend a lot of time. I mean, I had over, I don't know, 500 or 600 messages in my Facebook inbox because I get tons of messages there. And they'll go through all 500 of them to find the 2, 3, or 10 that will upset them. So you've got to be diligent with your electronic world. Password protect everything. Don't allow her access. The only way to unlock my phone, this is a Note 8, is fingerprint access, and that's it. So there's no way that she's going to get access to anything on here if she picks up my phone when I've gone to take a piss or I'm sleeping and I've been dating her for a while and she's around and she wants to look into it. It's pretty much as simple as that. So make sure that you've restricted access on electronic devices. Excuse me. Don't allow them to have a key to your house. Women always like to ask for a key to the house. I mean, unless you're dating her on a long-term basis, there's no reason why a woman should have a key. In fact, I'd go as far to say is unless you're being monogamous with a woman, there's no reason why she should have a key to your house. Okay? That should be fairly straightforward. Do not give up seeing other women unless you really want to. Okay? There is a post that I think Rollo did on the talk or the ultimatum. Anytime a woman gives you the talk, where are we going? Are you fucking other people? Am I your girlfriend? Are we exclusive? Stuff like that. That is a overt form of communication, which means that the covert form of communication they've been using hasn't been working. And when they rely on that, it's a declaration of helplessness. It's a declaration. They're basically at the end of their line. Okay. I'll talk about monogamy towards the end, dealing with that a little bit more. But gentlemen, do not give up your option to spin plates if you don't want to. Okay? I'll get into the monogamy part towards the end. For the first 3 to 6 months, see her no more than once a week or so. I wouldn't go any more than once a week for the first 3 months. You can see her maybe more after 6 months if she's really creamy and has risen to the top. Quality plate. But even then, I wouldn't stop spinning plates. Anything more than that sends the wrong message. So if you start spending, weekends together or longer periods of time, guess what, guys? You got a girlfriend, and it ties you up. It makes it harder for you to spin plates. And by the way, I'm pretty sure most of you know this already by now, but I'm divorced and I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I share custody, which means I've got my daughter almost half the time. So I still have the ability to parent my daughter and spend daddy-daughter times with her and all of that fun stuff. And I also have the time when I don't have my daughter. I mean, that's a little secret about divorce most guys don't hear, is when you get divorced you have all this fucking free time. So spinning plates is a good thing to do when you're divorced. I mean, most guys that have been divorced and put through the divorce machine don't want to get married again anyway, so it's pretty natural for them. Be a high value man. Okay, so this is really important. You want to be and I talked about it earlier, because women would rather share a high value man than be straddled with a faithful loser. You want to be the highest value man possible. Otherwise, hypergamy will move her on to the next dude. You need to be the fucking prize. A lot of guys get frustrated when it comes to spinning plates. They're like, I'm not having a lot of success. They keep dropping. They keep moving on. They're not returning my calls, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're the highest value man you can possibly be, you'll have less trouble with that. So if you've got a lack of income, you've got a lack of time flexibility in your schedule, you live with your parents or something like that, you've got to change those scenarios, because it's very easy for women to look past that and be like, well, lives with his parents and he doesn't have a job or something like that and plays video games, getting stoned in the basement. Like, you're not going to be that successful with women if you're spinning plates. You're not going to have the option to spin that many plates, because there's not going to be that many women that you're going to be able to have access to. So the insurance policy the entire time with plate spinning is the insurance policy of women would rather be share a high value man than be straddled with a faithful loser. Trust me on that. Don't get close to her family when you're spinning plates, unless you've got a primary plate, for example. Then you can, if you want to bring that into the mix a little bit after a while, you want to put it off as far as possible, 6, 8, 12 months. Give it some space and time. You don't need to rush into that. Okay. And if she asks you if you're seeing other women, you're going to use humor like, look around. No, do you see anybody? It's just you and me. Or if she says, you're seeing other women later on this week. Oh, yeah, baby. They're lined up at the front door. Can't you see them waiting to get in, sort of thing? You just make a joke about it. You don't have to answer the questions and say, well, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. It's just joke around about it. Do what women have been doing throughout history, which is just being covert about it. There's nothing wrong with that. You just, basically do what you want, and you make a joke about it. Okay. There's no need to worry about stuff like that. I like you. Don't worry too much about those things. There's a few jokes in there. I think the biggest thing is like, well, yeah, can't you see the lineup of women at the front door banging on it, waiting to get in right now, sort of thing. So, and you just kind of look at them and smile, and that's it. And that'll let it go, like almost 100% of the time. It's usually the easiest way to deal with it. All right, let's talk about level 2, which is moving on to an LTR. My take on this is spin plates for as long as possible, because once you commit to a long-term relationship, even with the tightest of game, you will lose a measure of the competition anxiety that made your attentions valuable to any one woman. All your plates fall off, and the girl you're engaged in a long-term relationship then relaxes. My take on moving into an LTR with a woman is all the benefits of plate spinning will disappear. Competition anxiety, the best behavior, the amazing sex, your confidence will change. You will lose an element of being alpha. You will always take on more beta characteristics as you get into a long-term relationship with a woman. I can't tell you how many guys that I've spoken to that will tell me, I was a sporto, a jock, military guy, and I was so confident and strong and alpha before I got married, and then when I got married, I turned into a plow horse and I turned beta. There's no guy that becomes more alpha, and I'm aware of, in a long-term relationship or marriage. I think it's pretty widely accepted that women tend to be known as dream killers. You've got to consult with them on large decisions if you're in a long-term relationship. Often your ability to maneuver changes. You can't get up and go and do things as you want. Some guys get really pussified, and it's like, they need to have permission to go out for a guy's night or watch the game or something like that. So my take is, even if you're dating somebody on a longer term basis, still spin plates, but that's up to you. I'd recommend only stopping if you're getting married. If you're getting married, you should really only be getting married for the purpose of reproducing, fathering children, and building a family. Marriage serves no real purpose in today's world. You shouldn't get married because you're bored or because you like a girl enough. Really, the only reason why guys should stop spinning plates and getting married and get into a long-term relationship is if they're serious about fathering children, building a family, and that sort of life. And that's really the only time that I can think of. I mean, divorced guys, why would you want to stop spinning plates? I mean, really, why? If you're in your 20s, you should be spinning plates. I've made videos about what you should be doing in your 20s, and one of the things I tell guys is don't get into long-term relationships with women in your 20s. Work on yourself, work on your business, work on your life, spin plates, have fun. Learn about female nature, spotting, good behavior and bad behavior, spotting red flags. I mean, you could, if you've got tight enough game, let's put it this way, if you've got tight enough game, you could meet a bunch of women in your early 20s, spin all the plates and carry one forward till you're 30 and decide at that point, okay, time for me to get married, sort of thing. If you've got tight enough game. So, but I mean, again, the problem with that is as soon as you move into an LTR, competition anxiety drops. You're definitely going to become more beta. You're not going to be as confident. You're not going to have the same level of game. You're going to lose ability to maneuver and so on and so forth. So you guys should already know all that by now. Last thing I want to talk about in this video, excuse me, is monogamy is a byproduct. It is not a goal. Monogamy is a goal of women. I think I had a note down over here. Yeah. Monogamy is a part of the feminine imperative. And one of the things that you've got to understand, guys, is women always reserve the right to change their mind at any given time. It's why many guys that have been in a long-term relationship or married, I mean, being married doesn't even guarantee she'll be in your life forever. If something changes in your world and another guy comes along that's higher value, that's willing to, see that woman or, engage into a longer-term relationship or even a romantic relationship with her, nothing stops her from ditching you. It happens all the fucking time. Don't let her objective be your objective. Be the prize. Make sure that you're clear on the fact that your mission is the most important thing to you. That's attractive to women. I mean, one of the things that's most unattractive to women is rudderless men. Men that don't have a plan. Men that don't have a game plan. Men that are ineffective. Men that are not competent. So you will be all of those things, more competent, more effective, more alpha, when you've got more options. The golden rule of relationships, again, is the person that needs the other person less has the most power. You will always have the most power by spinning plates. It's a funny world that we live in, because our entire life, including my own, I've had it pounded into my fucking head. You're only supposed to be with one person. But I think the truth of the matter is human beings are really not exclusive. We're not, monogamy oriented. We like to pretend that we are. Monogamy in today's world means one person at a time. And that might mean, you're spinning 5 plates and the one person you're with, it's Tuesday night. I'm recording this on a Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night. And then tomorrow night, it's, the next person. And 3 days later, it's the next person. And you're monogamous to all those people. So that's just the world that we live in. Read the books that I've mentioned in my longer term reading list. Sex at Dawn by Chris Ryan. Read the books by Esther Perel that I've mentioned about infidelity and cheating and long-term relationships and what creates desire. One of the best things I again maintain guys can do is have proper game and learn how to spin plates. There's 2 kinds of monogamy. There's natural and there's obligatory. Natural is the only one that you want to do. Anytime you're given the talk, am I your girlfriend? Are we in a long-term relationship? Where is this going? Funny story. I remember there was a girl, my best friend was dating her at the time, at the front door of my house because he was renting a room, and he was seeing her off, and she gave him the ultimatum talk, like, the talk at the front door. So where do we stand? And I said to him afterwards, I said, what you should have done is said, well, the way I see it, we're standing at the front door and I'm seeing you off tonight, and just smile. So if you have tight enough game, it will work. You don't need to, fall for the monogamy trap that many guys fall into, the one-itis, where only one person is your only source of intimacy. Only one woman is a source of your closest intimacy. And then you have your heart broken when things don't work out. If you're spinning plates, that's never going to happen. If you have tight enough game, that's never going to happen. And these are all things that you're going to learn over time with practice. These are many of all of my best practices. I put a lot of time together into my notes here, my show notes, I guess I'll call them. What I'll do is I'll copy and paste these all into the description of the video. It'll be a private video for Patreons only. It's unlikely that I'm going to release this publicly in the future. So if you have any comments or questions, you can post them below in the video or on the Patreon page. Let me just go back to the Facebook page, because I did ask earlier if anybody had any other questions they wanted me to answer before I post it. And let's see here. Question, do you recommend, no? As you spin and the cream rises to the top and you choose that girl for more committed relationships, such as an LTR type, should you keep spinning other plates? Yeah, I just answered that, so that should be clear. Or maybe a soft spin plate, so to speak. Yeah. Again, guys, as soon as you change the dynamic of your relationships with women and you become exclusive, so does a lot of the dynamics of the... Now, what I should mention this, which I didn't put in my notes, actually. It's actually in women's best interest for you to be spinning plates. The thing that creates desire in women is strong, confident, virtuous men. That's what they love. It's what gets them wet. It's what gets them excited. And space. Having space between you and your main partner creates desire. Because if you don't see them for a while, it's just hot after that. I had a conversation with one of my best friends. He's been married for 23 years. He's the only guy I know that still bangs his wife on a regular basis and has a great marriage. And I asked him what the secret to the success of his marriage was. And he said, it's because we don't see each other very often, because he travels a lot for business. He's not a plate spinner though. But, you know, when he puts time in between him and his wife, you know, it's the whole absence makes the heart grow fonder sort of thing. The same rule applies here when you're spinning plates. You're not going to see, you know, your plates on a daily basis or many times a week. You might, you know, let's say you're spinning 3 plates and you've got 3 days during the week and you kind of like, you know, see them on those days and you've got your time to yourself. So that will create a lot of desire in women, a lot. And, you know, when it comes to the sexual component, because I don't think anybody asked that in the questions when I posted it, but when it comes into the sexual component, you know, be really, really careful. I mean, you don't have to be sexually exclusive with just one. We know for a fact that women are not sexually exclusive. I've seen firsthand many times in my life where a girlfriend has, you know, hopped off my dick in the morning and gotten on another guy's dick later on that night because it was the right time of the month for her and there was the right fight and she was with the right people at the right place and time sort of thing. It's happened more than once, and women do this on a regular and consistent basis. So don't worry about, oh, you know, should I be seeing other people or should I be sexually exclusive with just one? Don't worry about that. Just make sure you don't knock anybody up, don't get an STD, use condoms, that sort of thing. And only spin the plate if she desires you highly and you desire her highly. Otherwise, you're going to get bored with it. You're not going to want to exert the time, resources, energy, and money spinning plates that you're not sexually attracted to, that you don't like spending time with. Let them go. And by the way, guys, one of the most interesting things that I should have mentioned, which I didn't make a note on here because I said that you want high enough desire. Little story, met a woman a number of years ago. I think it was around the same time I had broken up with my ex-girlfriend. And her level of interest was around, I'm going to say 6 or 7 out of 10. It never ignited at that time. We had one date. And then we came across each other on another dating app a few years later. And the interest level was much higher. And I had changed a lot from the beta period after I had just broken up and had my heart broken to a period of time when I was spinning plates. So my level of attractiveness was much, much higher to her. It was probably like a 9 or a 10. And this chick was off the chart crazy for me, you know, so it can change. You know, I had very low interest out of her to very high interest. I mean, this is a woman that had very low interest and all of a sudden it turned into several weeks after dating her, she did the whole dive into my social media and who are you seeing? And we had a threesome with a 22-year-old girl that she picked up for us. So you can have a lot of fun spinning plates, you know, you really can, but you got to do it right. So you know, guys, this is the only life that we live. You know, I'm going to say it again. As far as you know, when it comes to a hard end, that's it. You know, if something else happens after that, great. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the end. It's your life. Enjoy it. Live for yourself. Fuck the feminine imperative. Do stuff that you like. Stop doing things that you don't like. If you want to spin plates, do it. Enjoy yourself. Don't let any woman shame you into exclusivity or monogamy or the talk. There's ways that you can game around it, which I've explained in this video. I really hope this helps. Put a lot of effort into this. Looks like we're coming in close to about 40-45 minutes. So if there's anything that I've missed, you know, shoot me a message or just mention it, you know, on the Patreon page or in the comments below, and I'll try to deal with it for you guys later. Peace out. February Patreon Tier 3 done.